get, which will never get read. I did almost get Colbert writing staff. I found out yesterday that I did not get it.
Wait. Was this the one that we were talking about back in the winter?
No, that was I sent one in February, and they were like, "Oh, this is pretty good, but not great." And then I sent another one in like a month and a half ago, and then I never get feedback on writing packets. But then my manager texted me and said, "Hey, you've made it to the final round for Colbert." And I said,
dude.
"Okay, cool. This is awesome. Like, do you know anything more about it?" And he was like, "No." And so then, of course, you get in your mind and you're like, "Man, I can't believe maybe I'm going to move to New York again. This is sweet." And then you don't. And so last night I got the email that was like, "Hey, like they're going with somebody else." And I was like, "Oh, well, I assumed," but that was nice to get feedback.
Yeah, you got in like a couple nice close calls, haven't you? Like you did you fly out for SNL?
Yes, I flew out twice. I've circled.
Okay, can we get into this? I want to live vicariously through your experience. If you're
it's
okay.
I think for a while it kind of messes you up, but I'm very at peace with that experience now.
So was this 2 different seasons you flew out for, or for one season that you?
So this situation was John Rudninsky is his name. John Rudninsky was a 1-year guy. Who got it from JFL, and I think he missed a couple of cues or something where they would, cut to a chair, and he missed it, and so they were like, all right, this guy might be a stinker. So they did mid-seasons, which they only do once every few years.
Yeah, Kate McKinnon came on mid-season, didn't she?
Kate McKinnon was a mid-season person, and I think maybe Kristen Wiig was too, or she got it late, but they said, okay, we want to see a bunch of white guys, and
cha-ching,
and that's me, baby. And so a couple of weeks earlier, Steve Plock was on my first Herald team, Spider in the Car. And so Steve Plock's aunt is Sharna, who ran IO.
Yeah.
Sharna, you've heard of her.
You've heard of her? IO, if you're wondering what IO is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't exist.
Yep, doesn't exist anymore. It might later on, but
maybe
it doesn't now, for sure. And so she was at that show, and I did some Scottish waitress thing, and she emailed me and was like, "Yeah,
waitress or waiter?"
Waiter, I think.
Okay.
But I can't really remember, but it was humorous. And I did a Scottish accent, which, is always going to kill. And so she emailed me. She's like, "Oh, I really liked your show." And I said, "This is great. Thank you so much." Because, I had been there for 3 or 4 years and never talked to her.
First time. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so then they brought in a bunch of white guys. It was like me and, a lot of the people who I really respect. It was like Asher Perlman and Tim Lamphere and a lot of other folks.
Lovely, funny people. And
Dan White. And so we all auditioned. I had a great set that first round. It was really killer. I knew it going in that it was very good, and I knew that I would be like a top contender with the set that I had.
You just had these bits tested and ready to go.
It was one of those things where it's like, the first time you come out with an album, the first time that you come out with any kind of piece of work that no one's really seen you that much before, you've got this 15, 20 year block of so it's like your first thing's going to be good.
Can you reveal a couple of your bits?
I did. I'm very physical. And so I did Jacob Tremblay, who was big at the time for Room, and he was talking about how he cries. I did a show horse showing a house. I did a grizzly bear.
That is right. I love horse stuff.
Yeah,
horse work is great.
Every one of my sets has a horse bit. Horses.
That is amazing because I do horses all the time. Did you know this?
It's the funniest animal. I've seen you do a horse. I think that I've seen you do a horse on.
Surely you have. If you've ever seen me, probably once a show.
True Bangers, I believe I saw you horse it up. Maybe the last True Bangers show that I ever saw.
Sounds right.
And so what else?
A show horse showing a house.
I did my impression slot was it was a bunch of people auditioning for Garfield or something, and so that was pretty accurate. I had a really good Maggie.
That was pretty accurate.
I had a really good Maggie Gyllenhaal at the time, which is kind of cool, kind of not, but it was funny. And I forget what else I did, but no, I didn't. I've done so many bits now that they all kind of they all kind of blend together. But anyway, it was a very good set, and so I did it for the producers when they came. Or we did one round.
And so the producers came out to Chicago?
Yeah. So I did one round in front of Sharna with like 25 people, and it went well. And then the producers came like a month later, and Sharna put up maybe 16 or 17 of those. And I did really, really well. I knew it, and I was like, if they call somebody in for this, I'll probably get called.
Oh, that's nice to walk away feeling like happy with what you did. And
it was one of those things where there was a bunch of agents there, like local agents, and everybody came up and talks to you after.
So
and
you got some positive.
I know this sounds cocky or whatever, but like I knew it at the time. You know when you do well in comedy.
Yeah, you know when you do poorly, too.
You know when you do poorly.
And you know when it's just okay. And you try to trick yourself into that mindset that you may have done better than you did at an audition.
Yes. Well,
I do that sometimes. Yeah. I have a shitty one. I'll be like, but maybe
they're looking for something.
Maybe they're looking for something just kind of like...
my acting chops.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then I got a call when I was at work, doing I was a salesperson at the time, and they said, we want to see you on Monday, the following Monday. And then, it was really, really cool. All of a sudden you're going to New York, and, I think
were you freaking out, or
I was really excited because I moved to Chicago. I wanted to be on SNL. That's why I moved to Chicago. And so, you tell your family and you're like, don't get your hopes up, but it went well. I am flying out. It's very cool. My dad came out and met me while I was there. And then I think it must have gotten out that I was one of the stronger contenders because a bunch of agents started courting me, and managers. They were like, hey, I know that you're going to be in New York. Do you want to grab 20 minutes and chat? And in my mind, I was like, screw that. You're trying to take, a manager and an agent will both take $10,000 for booking SNL. And so I was like,
just book it on your own.
I was like, I was like, you haven't done nothing for this. So no, which ended up being fine. But, and so then I got there, and it's me and Tim Lamphere and Dan White were the kind of buddies, and maybe Ben Harper went out that round. And so we were there. It was great. We were all. I'm pretty close with Tim Lamphere and Dan to some extent, and so we were hanging out at the hotel, the Continental, I think it was, and then the next day we were all going out to audition. And it's weird. They put me in Kate McKinnon's dressing room, and I was like, it's hollow ground, and so I brought some really small headshots of mine, and I hid them in her room. I was like, I always want a piece of me to be at 8H, even if I screw up really bad. And so I put.
Do you think they're still there?
Yes.
Okay, wait, where is it hidden?
So Kate, if you're listening, there's one on top of her door. Like if the door is an inch, if the door is an inch wide, there's one that is exactly on top of the door. So no one will ever find that unless they replace the door.
Yeah.
There was one on the bottom of her trash can and one underneath her desk.
Oh,
which is weird now that I say it, but
no, it's amazing now that you say it. Somebody was Kate from New York. Was she did she come out of a UCB or?
Kate was a New Yorker. Yeah, she had done a bunch of solo work in New York and was renowned.
We definitely know somebody then who must know her. Let Kate know where these headshots are.
Yeah,
of this dashing man and her.
Oh God, who do I still know a couple. I guess Allison Ringhand would be the only one that I know that's still writing that would respond to an email of mine. And I do email her occasionally, but and so then you're sitting there, you wait for a really long time. They have a cool fruit spread for you. You can watch the other people audition on the TV, which
they play throughout the whole building, right?
Yeah, I don't know if they know that you do that, but anyway. So then I'm next up, and Tim Lamphere went, and I tried to record some of his stuff. Tim had the funniest bit, I think, of the whole group that went. He had a bit where he would start off and he would say, what I'm going to do is, hi, my name is Tim. It's snowing, obviously. I'm one of the fastest guys in the world. I am going to dodge every single one of these snowflakes, but to keep me honest, I have this air horn here, and I'm gonna press the air horn every single time I get hit. And so he would go, and then he would immediately just he would just blare on the air horn nonstop, like beep 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 beep, and that killed. And so anyway, then I was up next, and this guy, whoever the guy was in front of me, I felt really bad for because he was doing a rap, and it was bombing. It
was bombing because there was just no laughs, or because
there were no laughs, and
he fumbled it.
Doing a rap for your SNL audition is tough. It's because it's you have to get all of the verbiage out in a way that is super clear and coherent, and you're doing it to an empty giant garage space essentially.
Yeah.
And the sound cue isn't perfect, the levels aren't perfect, and so it sounded bad. Maybe the lyrics were great, but it sounded.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I was kind of pumped. Selfishly, I was like, "Oh, good. If the person in front of me kind of bombed, then the expectations will be low." And so
I've had that same feeling in life.
Yeah,
it's a shitty feeling, but we have it.
Yeah. I didn't feel great about it, but I was also like,
but also you're auditioning for SNL.
I was auditioning for SNL. And I was like, this guy tried a rap song at SNL. That was not ideal. And then I killed it, and then I got laughs. My entire set got laughs.
Did you do the same material that you did here in Chicago? Or did you have to do all new material?
So this round I got to do the same stuff.
Okay.
They said I think maybe they said swap out one thing. Maybe I think I did like a Justin Trudeau shooting hoops thing. It was Justin Trudeau who was auditioning for the Canadian Harlem Globetrotters, and it played decently well. But they were like, if you're gonna swap one thing out, swap that out. So I swapped it out for something. But yeah, I started out and I was this Irish car salesman, and the bit is like it starts out and it's this haunting song, and it's me talking about how like my first son was killed, and then it turns into this like super upbeat jig, and it's me being like, "Come on down." Anyway, that killed, and then everything else killed, and so then you walk off stage, and Lorne Michaels is sitting right there, and I saw Lorne get out of his seat as if he was coming to like shake my hand or something, and I walked past him. I don't know if he was or if he was just getting up to go to like the bathroom or something.
But you also don't want to fuck that moment up too and be like, hey,
because to me it felt like oh, don't look at them. They don't want you to look at them. So just like stay straight, get the hell out of there.
Play to a house that's not there.
Yeah, and so then that afternoon, I knew I'd done well, and I went out to get dinner with a couple of like the big former IO New York guys, the Gary Richardson and John
Reynolds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a couple of the other guys. Anyway, they went bowling, but I was like, you know what? I don't want to stay out till 2 a.m. This is not ideal. And so I went home, and then the next day we were supposed to fly out, and everyone else had their bags packed. And at 8 o'clock, I got a text from the producer that said, "Hey, can you stay for another day?" And I was like, and yeah, cummies. I was just like, yeah, this is tight. And so then it was really sad because I had my buddies were in the room with me, and they were like, "Yo, are you packed to go?" And I was like, "I'm staying." And I remember that, and I was like, "Oh, I'm staying and you're not." But I was like so happy, but it was devastating.
It literally is just the same thing at high school when you look at that casting list.
Yeah. And it's
just at a higher level.
And because it hit them at that moment too, because they're not sure if, they're not making decisions
they're holding out
later.
Oh.
But then they know that they're not making it.
Yeah.
Because then it's like I have to be the one to tell them that, which was kind of shitty. But they were very cool about it. They were like, "Oh, this is so cool. Like, you're going to get this thing. Like, you're very funny. This is cool." And I was like, "Okay, thank you." And so then I went and I walked around MoMA because they say, like, don't be too far away because we might call you in at any time. And so I went to MoMA for the day and just kind of sat and looked at art and thought about my life.
MoMA was great.
MoMA was great. MoMA's always great. And then yeah, they called me in 2 days later, and they said, "Okay, come meet some of the producers." I met all the producers, all the writers. I got to hang out with Michael Che and Colin Jost and Steve Higgins.
Awesome.
For like a half hour. And Higgins was making like dad jokes the whole time, and I don't think I did great there because I talked about how my mom named my dog Higgins, and then I thought that was weird. Because then they were making jokes about how my mom's dog was super horny all the time and was just like going after all the other dogs. But Michael Che told me that he liked some of my stuff. And so that was very complimentary. And then they kept me for another day. And they said, "Hey, Lauren wants to meet with you." And it was the week that Russell Crowe was there hosting for The Good Guys.
Okay.
It's the one that he did with Ryan Gosling. Oh, he's coming up. The Good Fellows or The Good Guys.
Okay.
It was a good movie. So he had taken Russell to a hockey game, so he brought me in once and then kind of blew me off, and then brought me in again the next morning. And I.
But did you wait there all day?
Yeah.
And then you never met with them one day?
No.
Yeah, I heard that's a thing, right?
It's a power thing, and it was obvious that's what they were going for, and I was fine with that.
And they try to see how you handle that stress.
Yeah, I mean, I had heard that happens before, so
yes.
I was very cool and calm. I think I did really well talking to the other people. I remember, Tim Robinson was there, who's like my.
Oh yeah,
Tim Robinson's probably my.
So he was writing.
Idol. He was writing at the time.
One of my like all-time favorite
Yeah,
performers.
just a genius. And so he, at one point, I remember, I can't remember how well I did with him, because at one point he said, "What was your favorite sketch this year?" And I remember blanking, and I remember being like, "No, how could I not come up with it?" Because you're going in there. So I watched a bunch of stuff, and I remember like I had that answer ready. But all I could think of was like my favorite sketch of yours. I really like your Bubba 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 basketball one that he did, where he wrote the lyrics to the intro song for the NBA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bubba
That's a great
Bubba Bubba basketball, and you're gonna give me the ball, and then I'm gonna dunk it.
Was that in one of his shows that he did? Like whether it was the characters or Thank You for Leaving.
I don't think so. Or I Think You Should Leave.
I Think You Should Leave. Yeah.
He did not do it. No.
I know I've seen that bit.
Characters.
Was it? It was just
he
on
did
SNL?
it on SNL. Yeah.
Okay.
He just did it on SNL. But yeah, and then I met with Lauren after again waiting for a couple hours, and I walked in the room, and he was sitting on a big couch here, just texting, I think on a BlackBerry, and then I went to sit across from him.
Noted. BlackBerry.
I went to sit across from him, and he said, "No, here," and then pointed to where the chair that I would be in right now, kitten corner, they call that.
Yeah.
90 degrees. And then he asked me a bunch of random questions. I wish I had recorded it. I had the thought in my mind, should I keep my phone on record the whole time? Because I don't remember almost any of it. I remember he asked if I had anybody else in my family that had been in show business, and I said no. But my grandfather, his father, had owned a theater, and he wanted to be in theater, but he got drafted to World War II and couldn't do it. And so he had I had a good little response for that. But I think it went well, because I got out of there, and then the producer came up to me like as I was in the waiting room and was like, "Hey, Lauren had a good conversation with you. He wants to know if you want to stay for the show." Because at that point it was Thursday, and the show was, again, taping on Saturday. And so I was like, "Oh, that's so nice. Absolutely." And they were like, "Great. You can come to the rehearsal show, and then you can come to the regular show. And he also would like to know if you want to go to the after party if you have time." And I was
that's awesome.
I was like, "Dude, my fucking logistics job."
Also, are you going to say no to any of that?
Yeah. Could you imagine the balls?
Not my dream job.
I really appreciate it, but I'm not going to go to the SNL after party with all these celebrities.
I can't stay.
Yeah. And so then I stayed for a couple days, and the after party was cool. I got to talk to Will Forte and Bobby Moynihan, who were both really nice. Will Forte had come back for some reason. Mm-hmm. I tried to go thank Lauren at the time, but there was like a line of people to see him, and that's where I started talking to Will.
That was your test. You needed to thank him.
It really may have been. It really might have been. I don't know.
Who knows?
Because then I went to one of the producers, and it was weird. I went to this after party, and I go there, and two people from my high school are at the after party. Two. And one person from my rival high school. And I'm like,
what?
I'm like, are you kidding me? And apparently they had some connection, or they were working at NBC in the Page program or something, and I didn't know about it. But I was like,
what are the odds of that?
Your life is cool. And I looked cool because they were like, "Oh, you're gonna get this job." And Katie Rich came up to me, and she's another one of my like favorite all-time Chicago. And she was like, "Hey, like I know it's weird coming from Chicago and not knowing anybody. If you want to come sit with the writers for update, you can." And I was like, "Oh my God, you're so nice." And then in between there, that Friday night, I met with the guy who would become my agent, Fred Hashagen, who was at UTA.
He's based out of New York.
Yes, and so he's Kate McKinnon's agent too. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I don't know anybody, but I'm going to this after party. If you could say anything to Kate, that would be sweet. And so he did.
If you could say anything about like some photos being left in her dressing room.
I didn't tell him about this. Maybe I did. I don't think I did.
Fred, if you're listening.
But then I see Kate go up and say, "Hi, are you Geoff Dow?" to some other person while I'm at the bar. I see her say that to somebody who looks like me. And so I'm at the bar, but I don't want to get the reputation of, "Oh, this kid left the bar after ordering a drink and didn't give a tip." So I'm staying at the bar when I see her, and she's got her jacket on. She doesn't go to the after parties for very long, and she left, and I never got to see her. So that's a bummer.
What a bummer.
But then Russell Crowe. So the night ends, and I literally ate a power bar to stay up. I don't do hard drugs, so I was like, I'm gonna do a power bar. So it was like maybe 3 a.m. The club closes, and I go to the bathroom, because I had been drinking a little bit, and so Russell Crowe busts out of the bathroom, and I don't know if he was doing drugs, but he was in a stall. I'm pretty sure he was, and so I was like, oh my God, Russell Crowe! Like, I really loved State of Play, And he was like, what? And I was like, State of Play. Like, I know you probably get Gladiator a lot, but I really like State of Play. I thought it was a cool journalism thriller. I thought it was well done. He was like, I hated having long hair. Who are you? And I was like, oh, I just auditioned for the show. Hopefully I'll get it, but probably not. And he was like, oh, did you get your 10,000 hours? And I was like, oh, like Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hours? Are you talking about? And he was like, get your 10,000 hours and then come back. And then he left.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so that was my interaction with him. And then I walked out with Will Forte. And I went, and I remember I went into the Times Square, which was all lit up, and I walked past a cop car, and for some reason I was like, yo, I was just at a party with Russell Crowe, and I said that to these cops, and they just looked at me, and they were like, get the hell out of here. And I was like, yeah.
You were just so excited you had to tell
right.
somebody.
I had to tell somebody, because, nobody else was awake. And then the next day, they flew me back first class. And Molly Jones was on my flight.
Oh yeah,
from IO, and she was like, "What? You're such a piece of shit." And I was like, "See ya." And I watched Star Wars on the way back, and then the next, so that's March of 2016. The next 3 months, I sit and I look at my phone, and every time it rings, I'm so excited.
Oh no!
And every time it's not them, and so and then I'm still kind of in this joyful mind state of, okay, well maybe if they don't replace John Radinsky first, mid-season, maybe I'll get it at the regular time. Mm-hmm. And then that time came on, and I auditioned in front of the producers with a new set, and didn't get a call. But then I went on my bachelor party before I got married, and I was in Telluride, and I was drunk, and they called me, and they said, we want you to come out to audition again. And I said, oh shit. And they said, we want to see a full new set. And I was like, a full new set relative to what you just saw me do at the audition? And they were like, well, you can do some of those things, but make it at least 40% new. And so I'm drunk at my bachelor, and I'm very excited.
And your wedding's coming up in how long?
My wedding was going to be in December, and this was in August, I think.
Okay, so you didn't have like too much wedding stress on your.
No,
it was not like the next.
But it was the first day of my bachelor party, and we had planned to do stuff. And so I was like, all my high school buddies and college buddies flew out, and so I felt bad being like, I have to go do this, even though that's probably what I should have done. So I did a little bit of that, and then every night would come home early and try and write. And I wrote some awful bits. And I think I do my best writing on airplanes. So I was like, okay, well, I'll fly. And they flew me to New York, and I'd written this bit on Michael Phelps. It was an Olympics year. And I did that as my first bit, and it tanked.
And you never got to test any of it?
Never got to test any of the new stuff, which is a mistake. I should have had more. I was young. It was the first time I had ever done one of those showcases. So I didn't have a lot to pull from. And so the first bit that I did tanked so hard that I was like, it threw me off a little bit.
Yeah.
And then my next bit was okay, and my last two bits were good.
Okay.
So
that's nice that you can turn it around after a bad.
But it was definitely, I didn't blow them away for sure that time. And so that time I left, didn't get any calls or texts, and I was like, okay, well maybe I'm still in the running. They've seen me. They've already, and then my agent was like, they've already talked to you at this point. They don't need to keep you around for a week. You've already had your conversation. And so I was hopeful again. But Alex Moffat, they had taken him out for drinks when Lauren came out.
This is before he got hired?
They end up casting Moffat over me.
Oh.
Who's a Chicago guy who used to do all like.
Yeah, I know.
He was like the Bulls trampoline guy. And so
he taught with me over at Improv Institution.
Yeah.
It has
know that.
Have you heard a story about how he got fired?
No.
Oh my! All right. Well,
but anyway,
you tell your story.
That's it. That's the end of my story. Because they had taken him out for drinks, and he had been under contract for another show for Lorne Michaels that was going to film out in L.A. with I think Mick Napier or David or Blaine Swen or something like that.
I remember that.
So he was under contract for that. The show never came to fruition, so he was already like under NBC contract. And then they went out for drinks, and I was like, oh shit, I'm probably not getting it. It's probably going to this guy. And then he got it. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'm still in the mix
Alex.
for the next year. And then, never got anything. And I ended up doing JFL the next year, which was cool. But yeah, I don't think.
What a wild ride.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely fun. And I'm glad that it happened. I ended up getting an agent and a manager from it. So that's cool. Mm-hmm. I got to audition for some cool stuff like The Big Sick and Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which, I never book, but fun. But wait, anyway, how did Moffat get fired?
Oh, okay.
Is this a bad story? We don't have to tell.
No, I don't think it's a bad story. Maybe it is. It's so
He got fired.
Apparently,